Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Kelly Bowden. I'm a Cobb County Science District coach. Today we're going to do a fourth grade activity about simple machines. What I need you to do is go get a pencil and 2 pieces of paper. With each of your pieces of paper, I want you to divide it into 6 like this. I'll give you a few minutes to get your materials together.
Simple machines help us make better use of our muscles to do a thing called work. Don't be fooled by their name. Simple machines help create things that are very complex. A simple machine controls the direction of the force or energy we apply. They're very handy because they make many movements and jobs easier to do. Simple machines work either alone or in various combinations. They make up most of the gadgets and mechanical devices we use every day. The 6 simple machines are the lever, the pulley, the wheel and axle, the inclined plane, the wedge, and the screw. The lever is the oldest simple machine. It's probably best described with a seesaw. Every lever, every seesaw, has a fulcrum. That's the point where the seesaw moves. It's right in the middle. The way a lever works is downward motion on one end results in upward motion at the other. Scissors are also a good example of a lever. Next are pulleys. There are pulleys in cranes and elevators, and your fishing pole has a pulley too. A pulley helps you move something up or down. It's a special wheel with a rope around it. When you give the rope a tug, the object at the other end can easily be lifted. If you combine several pulleys, you can lift something that normally you'd never be able to carry. The wheel and axle is best described with a good look at the tires of a car or truck. A wheel and axle rotate together. The wheel is locked to a central axle. When one turns, they both turn. The wheel and axle allows you to move the heavy car or truck. Another wheel and axle is a knob on a radio. The most simple of the simple machines is the inclined plane. It's a sloping surface used to lift or help move heavy loads with little effort. A wheelchair ramp is a good example of an inclined plane. It allows someone to go inside without trudging up the stairs. With an inclined plane, even though you're going a longer distance, it takes less effort to move. Next is the wedge. It's shaped a little like an inclined plane. Have you ever seen someone chop wood? They're probably using a wedge between the axe and the log to help drive a force into the wood and split it apart. Another simple machine is the screw. Anytime you take the lid off a jar of peanut butter, you're using it. A screw is a long incline with a central core and a groove wrapped around it. Every time you screw off the lid from a jar, you're seeing a simple machine in action. Screws are also very useful to hold things together. It's hard not to find examples of simple machines. They've been around for thousands of years. Humans use simple machines to build the Great Pyramids. We use them every day, in cars, schoolrooms, everywhere. The bottom line is that simple machines are tools to make work easier. We've moved over to another part of the Discovery Center, and joining me is Woody Sobey. You're going to show us some simple machines experiments.
Exactly. We're going to get started with the lever, a very fun one. And what we have here is a balancing beam which acts as a lever. We have the fulcrum, the pivot point right there in the middle. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a simple experiment. I'm going to take this one weight and I'm going to place it right here on the 5th peg out. And I'm going to ask you to take one peg and see if you can place it on your side to balance it out. Excellent. So by placing that one on the 5th peg, we can see that both sides are now balanced. There's the same force is pushing down on both sides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it around a little bit, and I'm going to take a second weight, and I'm going to place this on the same peg on my side, but you don't have a second peg. So how do you balance this with only one weight?
Okay. Well, I think it involves math, but I think if I do this, it should balance.
Excellent. It certainly does involve math, and we've got it balanced there. So we have 2 weights at 5, and we have 1 weight at 10. So those two are going to be the same force pushing down on both sides of our lever. So what we can see here is you can have a small force pushing down further away equals a large force pushing down closer in, and that's really the power of levers. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try using that same idea of the levers again, this time on a larger lever, and we're going to try to use that concept of small forces further out lifting larger forces. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and lift Hannah off the ground. So we have our volunteer Hannah here.
Thank you for joining us.
And we're going to go ahead and have her stand on the edge of the beam right there. Excellent. And when you're standing on that, I'm going to try to push down here. And by pushing down on it, I can't lift you because the force is too much. I'd have to put all my weight on it. But what we're going to have you do is step back. And now we're going to move the pivot point, the fulcrum here. We're going to slide it out further. And this time, we'll have you go ahead and stand on that again. And now, because we have the difference in length, we're going to have a small force over here lifting you right up off the ground.
Voila! We're going to move on to our next simple machine. It's the pulley. Tell us about it.
Excellent. And so the pulley allows you to redirect forces, but it also allows you to multiply forces by using multiple pulleys together. So what we have is the first one is just a single pulley, and by pulling on this, you can lift the bowling ball, but you have to lift the entire weight of the bowling ball, and you get no mechanical advantage. From here, we can move on to two pulleys, which will give us some mechanical advantage. So move this over. And now when we pull on this rope, we're going to be getting the mechanical advantage, so it'll be easier to pull, but we'll have to pull it much further in order to lift the bowling ball the same distance. Then what we can do is we can try going over to our final pulley, which actually has 4 pulleys on it and is much easier to lift, but as a result, you have to pull the pulleys much, much farther. So with this one, you can start up and you just keep pulling and pulling and pulling before you get the bowling ball all the way to the top.
So it takes less force when you have more pulleys, so it makes the work easier.
It makes it much easier, but you have to do it over a much longer distance.
You know, I have a friend, George, who's going on a trip, but he's too heavy for me to move. Can you help me?
Well, I think we could certainly use some of these pulleys to help out. Which one do you want to try?
Let's try the 4-pulley system.
Seems like a good idea. Let's see if it works.
There we go.
All right.
And I'm using another simple machine, the wheel and axle, to help move George out of here. Thank you so much for your demonstrations.
Certainly. I'm glad you could make it.
Now that you learned that simple machines make work easier for you, let's learn about the 6 different types of simple machines. What you're going to need is your pencil and one of your sheets of paper. As you watch this next video, write down each one of the names of simple machines and describe how it makes work easier for us.
Work is the amount of energy required to move an object. The further you move it, the more work is required. Simple machines allow you to do the same work with less effort. Simple machines are all around you. These bikes incorporate 3 simple machines. Welcome to Moo Moo Math and Science and Simple Machines in Real Life. There are 6 simple machines: a lever, an inclined plane, a pulley, a wedge, a screw, and a wheel and axle. If you start looking around you, you will find these simple machines in everyday life. A lever is a long beam with a fulcrum or pivot. The mechanical advantage of the lever depends on the ratio of the lengths of the beam on either sides of the fulcrum. Some common examples would be pulling out nails with pliers, a bottle opener. A shovel is a lever. A golf club is a lever. These cranks on a bicycle, and this wheelbarrow is a lever. And it's also going up an inclined plane. An inclined plane is simply a flat surface raised at an angle. A skateboard ramp is an example of an inclined plane. This motorcycle jump is. And steps are even considered an inclined plane. A pulley is simply a wheel with a groove in it and a rope in the groove, or possibly gears and a chain in the gears. It is used to lift up or lower heavy objects or propel a bike or motorcycle forward. Some examples are gears on a bicycle. This crane uses a pulley to lift objects and lower them, and you will find pulleys on almost every car. A wedge. The main function of a wedge is to change the direction of the input force. For example, if you drive a nail into a board, the nail acts like a wedge and it will redirect this force outward, causing the nail to go into the wood and sometimes will split the wood. Scissors are considered a lever and a wedge. This axe is a wedge. A screw is essentially a long inclined plane wrapped around a shaft. It is used often in everyday life, like this drill. Bolts are a screw. A wheel and axle is basically a wheel mounted to an axle and allows you to transport objects much easier. Bicycles have a wheel and axle. This wheelbarrow does also. If you'd like to know more about Simple Machines, this playlist will help. And as always, thanks for watching. And Moo Moo Math uploads a new math and science video every day. Please subscribe and share.
Wow, that was a great video. I didn't realize there were so many simple machines in my everyday life. Let's see if we can answer our learning targets now. The learning target was, how can I identify and explain the uses of simple machines? Well, we learned that simple machines simply make work easier. And there are 6 simple machines. This image is taken from your textbook. There's a pulley, a wedge, a lever, a screw, an inclined plane, and a wheel and axle. Next, we're going to do an activity. Now you're ready for an activity. What I need you to do is get your second sheet of paper. Write down each simple machine in one of the boxes. Then, using your notes and grabbing your whole family, you're going to go on a simple machine scavenger hunt. You can look inside your house and you can look outside your house. What I want you to do is in each box, draw and label 2 examples of each simple machine. Remember to have fun, and as always, tweet out pictures of you and your family on your scavenger hunt at Cobb Science. Thank you for joining me today, and make sure that you have lots of fun.